Feel free to continue sharing in the chat box your music albums that you remember purchasing. I'm going to share one more time into the chat box this link. It's an attendance form link, and if you could just fill that out, that would be super helpful for me, so I can record how many people came and make sure all of you get registered in Aspen for your CE credit. There is a space on there for folks who are interested in OPI credit. If you just mark that on there, I will follow up with you and make sure that you receive that as well. So that is available for folks who attend any of our trainings live. But anyway, welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for coming to our Ready to Read overview. This is an annual thing, annual in that I've done it last year and this year, but I'm hoping to do it every year. And it's just, I thought it would be a great way for all of us to kind of get together and make sure we're on the same page in terms of what Ready to Read is, how you can participate, and how you can get involved. And I know that this is a great mixture of folks who have been here in Montana for a while and folks who are maybe new to Montana or new to libraries or whatever. So I thought that this would just be a nice way for all of us to come together and talk. So for today, we're going to be talking a little, I'll kind of go through the history of the Ready to Read program. I'll talk about the programs that are available that libraries can participate in, the kinds of supports that you can use. And I'll talk about upcoming trainings as well. And then at the end, I'm hoping that we'll have enough time to just kind of have general discussion, see if you all have any suggestions or feedback. And if at any point in the time you guys have questions, please do feel free to put those into the chat box. I will be monitoring that. And so I'll bring anything in there to all of our attention. Okay, so, I already went through this, but this is our agenda for today. And you can see that I've included some of the images from the Ready to Read program, so you can see some of the posters and things available. Okay, so first thing to talk about is Ready to Read history and mission. And I just like doing this because I think it was helpful for me to understand the context and where this early literacy initiative came from. And I think it's also a good reminder for all of us as to why are we doing this? So the main goal of Montana's Ready to Read program is to help parents and caregivers, especially low-income families, understand the value of sharing language and literacy with children and to help develop their children's early literacy skills. And as a reminder for those who may not be familiar, early literacy is everything that kids know about reading before they actually learn how to read. So a lot of times, and I'm sure you all have probably encountered this as well, but sometimes when I'm talking to other state agencies or I'm talking to folks who aren't super familiar with early childhood development or early literacy, they're just sort of like, oh, you teach them the alphabet. Oh, you teach them to like sound out words and, that sort of thing. And I mean, that is definitely part of it, but with early literacy in particular, it's all about the background knowledge, what people know about, what kids know about the world, what they're learning about the world from their parents, how their parents use their language, how they sing to their kids, all that sort of stuff. So I think sometimes people are intimidated by the phrase early literacy because they think they have to teach how to read, but it's actually what people already are doing and have been doing for a super long time, and it's just a matter of being aware of that. So in terms of the history, and here you can see some of the publicity materials, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on, but these cards are available for libraries to use. If you would like to request a package, just let me know and I can mail you some. So Ready to Read was started in 2009 by Sarah Groves at the State Library. If any of you remember Sarah, she was my predecessor, and she originally was the marketing person here, but then she transitioned into the lifelong learning librarian role, and she was really, really, really passionate about early childhood development and early literacy. So she was the one who started the Ready to Read program and kind of grew it from the beginning and really helped make it what it is today and lay the foundation for that. Um, and so the Ready to Read program is based off of the American Library Association's Every Child Ready to Read. So this is Every Child Ready to Read is its own program. You can Google that and learn more about it. But the main framework that Ready to Read really, really liked was the read, write, talk, sing, and play. And so these are the 5 skills of early literacy that we try to encourage families and caregivers to do with their children, because this is what helps them succeed and learn how to read more easily and also, um, you know, succeed in life. Like I said, you can definitely take a look at the Every Child Ready to Read program and you'll see some similarities there. But the main points is that at this point, I guess Ready to Read has been around for uh, 12 years, going on 12 years, which is really, really cool. And Sarah Groves was the one who helped bring this together. Let's see. Any questions about the history of the Ready to Read program or the mission or anything like that? Okay, then let's go on. So you already saw a bit of a preview with some of the publicity materials on the previous slide, but any library in Montana is welcome to request a little materials package, and I will package things up and send them out to you. And we have a lot of stuff, so actually I would really love for people to request things from me so I can make some room in our storage space here. But as you saw from the previous slide, there were these kind of large cards. I don't know the exact size, but they're maybe like, oh, I'm really bad at estimating. I don't know, like 6 by 8, I guess. So not as big as a full-size sheet of paper, but they're very colorful. And on the backs, which I didn't include a picture of, but it has a short blurb on like why reading is important and how you can, you know, why you should do this with your child. So you can see that there's a large card and then there's also a corresponding bookmark. So you're welcome to request any combination of these things or just, some of the read cards or whatever, just let me know. But these are available for you to give out to your patrons. And I do know that a lot of folks have used these to make little, you know, packets or folders that they give out to patrons when they sign up for summer reading, or they sign up for 1,000 books before kindergarten, or they give it to the hospital to give to families with new babies. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. You can also just put them out and have people take them. But these we created these for all of you to use. So please let me know if you would like some, and I will send some to you. And Fawn, I see that you would like some, so if you could just send me an email, and I will follow up with you and make sure you get one. And I'll put my email into the chat box. We also have large posters that don't look exactly like these cards here, but kind of similar. So if you have available wall space and you would like to hang up posters that talk about read, write, sing, talk, play, let me know and I can send those along as well. We also have these brochures that are for, there's 3 of them. There's for babies, toddlers, and preschoolers. And as you can see, these brochures are a little bit dated looking. These were created kind of early on in the Ready to Read initiative. So it is on my to-do list to redesign these and print a bunch more, hopefully next year if time and budget allows. But the information in here is still really, really, really good. And a lot of libraries still hand these out, and people have still found them super useful. You can see on here, I'm not sure if I hope the text isn't super small, but on the side with the woman and the baby, it says 6 early literacy skills. So I showed earlier the read, write, talk, sing, play, but when Ready to Read was first started, instead of those, people were using things like narrative skills or print motivation or vocabulary, which is why you see that in this brochure. That eventually got simplified to read, write, talk, sing, and play, because that's a lot easier to understand than phonological awareness. But those things kind of overlay with read, write, talk, sing, and play. So in case people have questions about that, there's, using the more modern framework is an easier way to explain that. But we also have thousands of these pamphlets. So if you would like to request some and hand them out to whomever, please let me know and I can definitely do that for you. But as I said, we are hoping to do a redesign and a reprint sometime in the next year or so. Any questions about the publicity materials? Oh, I forgot to take a picture of these. But we have a ton of magnets as well. And the magnets are all with these animals on them. The magnets are kind of small, like the size of a business card, I'd say. And so it just has the animal picture and then like play together, sing together. But they're super fun, and the libraries that have used them have really enjoyed those. They're also incredibly heavy, so please request them and take them off my hands because they're taking up a lot of shelf space. But those are also really fun to hand out to folks as well. So I forgot to include a picture, but there are magnets if you would like those. Okay, moving on. The next program I want to talk about is the Ready to Read texting program. And I hope that some of you are familiar with this already. But if not, this program started in 2015, and it's a partnership with Shoutbomb, which I know some libraries use. It's like a text message service. And I think typically libraries use it for texting folks to let them know your book has come in, or you have an overdue book, or something like that. But the Ready to Read texting program is actually 8 months of early literacy texts directly to a cell phone. So people can sign up with any cell phone number, and you can see on this card, you see send the phrase sign up to this number, and you just text it. And you will get 8 months of early literacy messages 3 times a week. And so these messages are focused. They were developed with an early childhood development specialist that Sarah worked with. And it is focused on 4-year-olds, but with a lot of the messages, they can be pretty easily scaffolded up or scaffolded down. And so even though it says it's for 4-year-olds, I think, it's also just good information for people to have who have just young children.
Can I add something?
Yes, thanks.
What I would recommend is if you don't, a lot of us don't have 4-year-olds in our house or 3-year-olds, but we work with a lot of them. And so you can make up a child. So I would recommend that everybody just do this if you're not familiar with it. So you'll be able to share it with your patrons better.
Mhm.
So just pretend you have a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old or whatever age you want to choose there. And so that you can see what the texts are like. You'll find them kind of, they're fun to get. And then you'll find you can use them in talking to your patrons, or when we at some point get back to doing programs, you can use them in your story times and stuff too, because it's all really simple, like it doesn't require any materials. It's just something you can talk about or something you can point out, or a little rhyming thing. They're very, very simple, but I would recommend that you make up a child and do them yourself.
Mhm. And when Cindy says make up a child, really you text sign up to this number and it'll be like, how many children do you have? And you can go hog wild and say you've got like 20 or something. And then you just type in like my child, like how old is your child? And you type in a number. So no one's going to be verifying anything. It's just all through text. And they'll ask a few questions before it will let you know you've been signed up and now you'll start receiving the text.
Yeah.
Um, Also, so I mean, that's Cindy made a great point. It's really great to actually experience the texting program on the end user side. But on our side, if you would like to see a full list of the texting tips, that's available on our website, and I'll share that in the chat box when we move to the next slide. But I put all the tips in a PDF, and you can take a look at them there. So
And one of the reasons the texts are so simple is because they were limited. Sarah and Linda were limited as to how many uh, like actual letters they could have. Like they couldn't just go
oh,
on
I
and
didn't know
on.
that.
Yeah, they were
Oh.
limited to. That's why you'll find funny little, it's a little bit like tweeting that you just can't go on and on. That was a very specific, you could have this many lines or this many letters or this many
Mhm,
words. So that's why sometimes they'll cut some corners to make
mhm.
them really easy. They
Oh, I
didn't
did not
want
know
it to be
that.
a paragraph, which thank
Yeah.
goodness, right?
There's a comment in the chat from Mary Drew who said, I did this to see what it was like and passed it along to some patrons, which is great.
Perfect.
And I also wanted to mention there is, when you finish the 8 months, there is like a little survey so you can give feedback on your experiences with the program. And looking through some of that feedback, people have been really, really, really appreciative of the program. They've said it's been easy to do, it's easy to understand, a lot of like activities and skills that they can work on with their kids and they remember. And also, there were a lot of grandparents who had signed up and did this with their grandchildren. So, as a reminder, it's not just for immediate families, it can also be for aunts, uncles, anyone who have small children that they're around.
Grandparents.
Yeah,
That it would be a
grandparents.
great thing for grandparents who are, phone savvy.
Yeah,
You can get a text.
yeah. The only thing is that you do need a cell phone. I don't think you can do this with a landline, but um, yeah. So let's see. Moving on to the next slide, we did create a sort of texting outreach social media kit. So here you can see this image with one of the early literacy tips. So this is actually a good example of the format of a lot of the tips. But I typed each tip into this template, and so you can go through and download all 89 tips. I forget how many there are. And there's an image for each one, and you can directly post this to, I think it's the Instagram square size, but it goes also in on Twitter and Facebook, and you can post it to all of your social media channels. So this would be a great way to help publicize this program by posting it to social media, and along the with these graphics, you can use different hashtags as well. So I have the link to this website here, which is just the State Library website um, on the texting program. So you can download the social media toolkit here, and you can also download a full list of the texting tips if you'd like to look at all of them in one go. So any questions about that? And just as a fun thing, right now I think I just got the report for February, and we have 927 people signed up across the state of Montana, which is really cool. I'd love to bump that up to 1,000, a nice round 1K. So if any of you are interested in working more with this, please let me know. I'm happy to brainstorm more and help you think of ideas. Okay. Next, I wanted to talk about the Ready to Read Rendezvous. So the Ready to Read Rendezvous is our early literacy focused conference, and it's for anyone who works with children or anyone who's interested in working with children or anyone who just wants to, I mean, it's basically open to anyone. But it's an in-depth, hands-on learning and practice conference, and typically it happens in person and it takes place over one weekend, usually in the fall, late summer, fall. Usually fall because people are still kind of unwinding from summer reading. So this is a picture from oh my gosh, was that 2019? I think it was the 2019 Ready to Read Rendezvous, which happened
Helena.
in Helena. Yeah. Um, and so we had Betsy Diamant Cohen and Sherry Norfolk and Mike Jetty come and present to us, and it was super great. And so the Ready to Read Rendezvous is a really great time to learn a bunch, refresh your memory, kind of reinvigorate your early literacy practice, connect with your peers across the state, and also connect with like high quality presenters. We always try and get really amazing people to come to the rendezvous. Um, so for the Ready to Read, obviously we did not have a rendezvous in 2020. We are hoping to have a rendezvous in 2021. Sometime in the fall, the date is yet to be determined. And this will actually be a virtual conference. So I don't think we're going to be able to do something in person, but hopefully we will do something in person in 2022. So that is the tentative plan for now. I mean, the 2021 virtual rendezvous is for sure happening, but I am hoping that in 2022 we'll be able to meet face to face. So we're currently looking at speakers and trying to figure out schedules. I'm hoping in the next couple of months we can release more information about that. So keep an eye out on Wired for more information. And once we have a date and all that stuff, I'll put all of that on the State Library website and send that out. So you'll have that to look at as well. So just letting you know, sometime in the fall, either in September or October, there will be a Ready to Read rendezvous online. Any questions about the rendezvous? Okay. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was Ready to Read 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten. And I know that a lot of you are probably familiar or maybe have heard of this program. But for those of you who haven't, Montana did not create this program at all. I think it was actually originally started in Nevada, someplace southwesty. But it's a program aimed at children age 0 to 5. And like the title says, it's just trying to get kids to read 1,000 books before they start kindergarten. So this program is really great because it's super easy to start. It's very, very flexible and customizable. And once you kind of get things going, it kind of runs pretty seamlessly by itself. There are a few libraries here in Montana that have started their own programs and have really, really enjoyed it. Their families have really liked it. And especially when the kids reach 1,000 books, there is a really big sense of accomplishment. Um, so if you're interested in learning more about this program, we actually have a webinar from October 27th where it's a panel of libraries from across Montana who started their own programs and talk about their processes. And the panel is really great because it's from a wide variety of libraries, one big, one small, one rural, and varying budgets, varying degrees of complexity, but they all work. And so it really does show how flexible you can be with this program. There's a comment from Carly. She says, we just started ours in January, and we already have one little girl who's over 300 books logged. So that is amazing. That is really incredible. So if you're interested in the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program, check out that webinar. Feel free to talk to me. I have so many resources that I can send you, but you can also reach out to other libraries here in Montana who have started it and had a lot of success, such as Carly, who's on the call right now. Um, so this is just another thing that people have said is that the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program is meshes really, really well with the other early literacy activities that they're doing. So rather than feeling like they've started something completely new and have to, you know, spend all this attention just on this, when they've started the 1,000 Books program, they can pretty seamlessly integrate it into everything else, into story time, into summer reading. They can say, don't forget to log this in 1,000 books. And so there's a lot of really good ways to knit those two together. Okay, another program that we have is the Ready to Read Supercharged Storytime Learning Cohort. And so for those of you who may not have heard of Supercharged Storytime, that is a course, a self-paced course from WebJunction. It's available for free on WebJunction. I think it was originally developed in 2015, maybe 2016. And so it's a 6-module course and it goes through all these different ideas and ways that you can supercharge your story time. And so with these 6 modules, the way that we format the cohort is folks work through the module on their own, and then for each module we have an online discussion session. And so we meet every 2 weeks, so folks have 2 weeks to complete the materials, and then we have a discussion together. We have usually about 6 or 7 people per cohort, and it's a nice way to share and learn and see what other people are doing and how story times are run all around the state. So it's really, really fun. It's really, really great. I think we're currently finishing up our cohort now, and I think this is the 3rd one that we've done. So yeah, it's really, really fun. And if you're interested in learning more about how to improve your story time, how to jazz things up, I would recommend looking into this. We do typically do the cohort in the winter. I think this year's cohort started in January and runs till March. And I usually send out information and applications in the fall, so after summer reading. So if you'd like to learn more, feel free to reach out to me. We also have a couple folks on the call who are currently participating. So Mary Drew says it is fun. I've learned a lot. So feel free to reach out to her. I think I saw Camille on here too. And Carly is actually helping me facilitate it, which is great. So if you're also interested in facilitating your own supercharged storytime cohort, I would highly encourage anyone to do that. But yeah, it's a great way to learn more and also get connected to folks around the state. All right. So next I wanted to talk about other ready-to-read training opportunities that are out there. And so for upcoming sessions, there's actually going to be a session at MLA, Guerrilla Storytime on the 16th from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. And I also forgot to put on here, but if any of you went to Kathy McMillan's uh, Sign Language During Storytime, American Sign Language During Storytime webinar, I think this was back in May of last year. She is coming to MLA as well and will be giving a session there. So I forgot to list that on here, but the May session was amazing. She had so many great ideas, and the MLA session is going to be super fun as well. So I would encourage you to come to both of these. Guerrilla Storytime is just going to be kind of a rapid fire sharing time for songs, finger plays, rhymes, favorite books, that sort of thing, just to kind of get ideas out there and see all the different ways that folks run story time. So those are some MLA sessions, and typically at MLA every year, there's always a few early literacy sessions there. So that's a great way to pick up training if you go to that. As I mentioned, the Supercharged Storytime cohort and the Ready to Read Rendezvous, those are things that we are hoping to do every year. And then we also have webinars that we do each year. So the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten panel we've done for the past 2 years. The annual Ready to Read overview webinar, which we're doing now, we've also done for the past couple of years. And then we also have trainings that kind of are scheduled as relevant speakers or interesting speakers come up. So we had Kathy McMillan come in the past to talk about American Sign Language and using that during story time. We've had a few other folks and things that get passed around on listservs and things. But we're always open for more suggestions. If you know of a trainer who's been really, really great for your early literacy practice and development, feel free to pass them along to me, and we can always schedule something for everyone else in the state. Okay, so next talking about how to stay updated with Ready to Read. So the main channels of communication that I use are, I mean, first of all, you can just like talk to me. You can always just email me, call me, whatever, and I'm happy to chat and dump whatever information you want onto you. We also have the Montana State Library Ready to Read webpage. So let me actually go ahead and stick that into the chat box because this is something that I try and keep updated. And so this is just a great page to bookmark and come back to. So anything early literacy related, I will put on here. And it's just a good way to keep in touch with what's going on. I also send a lot of stuff out on Wired. I send a lot, I send a lot of stuff in general, but all the early literacy stuff I send out there. So anything Ready to Read related, I'll send out on Wired. Sometimes I'll be soliciting for applications or trainer ideas or just letting people know about upcoming trainings, but Wired really is the best way to get like current information. We also have the new Ready to Read webpage, which is the website for the public. And I hope all of you have had a chance to take a look at this because it's really bright, it's really colorful, it's really fun. It looks so much better than the previous website, which you couldn't even access for a while because no internet browsers support Flash anymore. So this website, the readytoreadmontana.org, is something that we actually really encourage you to share with your patrons. This was designed specifically for families and parents and caregivers to give them resources, song ideas, things to read and watch on YouTube to learn a little bit more about early literacy and just kind of get more involved in helping their children get ready to read. So this URL, you're more than welcome to post on social media, put it on your website, just give it directly to people. Readytoreadmontana.org is on all of our publicity materials. So if you're handing those out, the people will be seeing them that way as well. And then lastly, for training events, Aspen is a really good way to keep up with what's going on there. I mean, for anything coming from the state library, we put all of it pretty immediately into Aspen. So I just recommend looking there for any upcoming trainings, and you'll be able to see which ones are Ready to Read related. And then for those of you who are interested in getting started with Ready to Read, or maybe you've already started with it and you want to get more involved in other things, and here are just some ideas that you can think about. So one, asking for some publicity materials to start handing out to families. You can also give them to Head Starts, daycares, hospitals, kind of anyone in your community who works with young children. And like I said, we have a ton of stuff, so I don't mind giving you large amounts of things. And if we run out, we can always print more. So please do request those, and I'll send them to you. Um, as Cindy mentioned, starting to use the ready to read texting tips in your story time, doing outreach with those, maybe making social media posts, and just kind of reminding people that um, early literacy tips don't have to be hard or complicated, and the texting program is a really great way to get ideas for that. You can start a 1,000 books before kindergarten program at your library. As I mentioned, there's a few libraries here in Montana who've done that. And they've all said that, like when you're setting up a new program, there is a bit of a time investment, but for 1,000 books, it's actually pretty small. It's like not a lot in for a lot out. And you can make this program as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. Um, so I'm more than happy to talk with whomever. We can set up a meeting and just chat and brainstorm ideas, and I can give you a better idea of what to expect with that. But starting in 1,000 books before kindergarten program is really quite easy, and can be done quite quickly. Another idea is to attend or lead a supercharged storytime cohort, especially for folks who might be at larger libraries or maybe are in regular contact with other child support folks in your community. The supercharged storytime format is a really great way to bring people together and get people really involved and passionate about early childhood development. So whether that's through attending or leading your own, the Supercharged Storytime course in general is really awesome, and I would highly recommend taking it. And then also plan on attending the next Ready to Read Rendezvous. They're always super fun. You'll learn a ton. I always learn a ton. And it's just a great way to stay connected with early literacy stuff and also your peers across the state. So those are some starting points that I thought of right off the bat. There's also obviously many more ways that you can get involved. And if you have new ideas or things that you have questions on, again, please do reach out to me, talk to me, and I'm more than happy to listen or help brainstorm. Okay, so I've been talking a lot. Um, and now I just kind of want to open it up to anyone listening and see if you have any questions, suggestions, comments, if anything was unclear, if there's better ways for me to communicate with you all. Um, yeah, and you can type in the chat box or you can unmute yourself, whatever you're more comfortable with. Karen says, thanks. You're welcome. And if you're not comfortable giving suggestions or can't think of anything at the moment, I will be sending out an evaluation later on, and there's always a section for our webinar evaluations for like follow-up suggestions, ideas, and so please do put things in there because sometimes it's just easier to write it out. Vaughn says, I'm grateful for the newfound material that is available. Yay, I'm glad. Mary Drew says everything was pretty clear. It's nice to have all the resources offered together. Um, yeah, and that's part of the reason why I want to do this webinar on a regular basis, because there's sometimes turnover in the state, and sometimes hard to kind of wrap your mind around everything. Oh, Fawn says that I'm guessing you're talking about the PowerPoint. Yeah, I found this template off of like Slides Carnival, I think, and I've used it a couple times for things because I really like it and how colorful it is. Any other questions? Carly says, I had a first grader ask me last year about why there was a number two instead of the word two on Ready to Read, and I admit I've wondered that as well. You know, I have as well. I don't know. Sarah didn't leave notes about why they decided to do it that way as opposed to just TO. Um, yeah, as Fawn says, maybe it was a trendy thing back then. Um, Cindy says, I don't remember either, but it sounds like a marketing thing. Carly, you can always hit him with the like, you'll understand when you're older. Oh, Mary Drew is like library to go as an example as well. So yeah, it's probably just a marketing thing that people use. Okay, I might go ahead and stop the recording.